Welcome to episode 3 of Veil Lifted, a video essay where I discuss fascinating cases that involve secrecy and discovery. Today we will be discussing the Heaven's Gate cult. This cult was founded in 1974 by a man named Marshall Applewhite and a woman named Bonnie Nettles. Before delving into the cult itself, let's delve into who Applewhite was prior to this cult's beginning. Applewhite was the son of a Presbyterian minister and was born in Texas in 1931. In his childhood, Applewhite was very religious, and as he grew up, religion continued to be a significant factor in his life. He eventually attended the Union Presbyterian Seminary in hopes of becoming a minister himself. At this point, he was married to the woman of the name of Anne Pierce, with whom he had 2 children. Not long after he began his seminary studies, he lost interest and chose to pursue a career in music. Before he could take action for this new career, he was drafted by the U.S. Army. From 1954 to 1956, he served in Austria and New Mexico in the Army Signal Corps. In 1956, he left the military and returned to pursue his musical career. He then earned his master's degree in music. After accomplishing his master's degree in Colorado, Applewhite decided to move to New York to work towards a professional singing career. This attempt failed, and instead he began to teach at the University of Alabama. The University of Alabama was a turning point in Applewhite's life. After teaching there for a while, he was let go after the discovery of his sexual relationship with a student who was also a man. Many have speculated that the Heaven's Gate cult functioned as a way for Applewhite to relieve the tension between his religious beliefs and his sexual orientation. Once his wife found out about the affair, she left him. After losing his position at the University of Alabama, Applewhite lived in Houston and was teaching at the University of St. Thomas in 1965. The years leading up to 1971 were full of ups and downs. For a short moment in time, Applewhite openly identified as gay, however still pursued a relationship with a woman. It is speculated that this was only in order to appease his family. Sometime in 1971, Applewhite's father died, and unsurprisingly, this took a significant toll on Applewhite's mental health as well as financial. In 1972, Applewhite was going to change in a drastic manner. He met Bonnie Nettles, the woman who would soon be the co-founder of their cult. Nettles and Applewhite seemed to have a deep connection as they shared similar interests, namely in the realm of theosophy. Theosophy is defined as a number of philosophies maintaining that a knowledge of God may be achieved through spiritual ecstasy, direct intuition, or special individual relations. Nettles allegedly told Applewhite that extraterrestrials had foretold her that she would meet him and that he had a divine mission. At this point in time, Applewhite had been researching alternative routes to Christian doctrines, such as astrology. He began to have visions in which he was told he was the chosen one, much like Jesus. Between Nettles' support and these visions, Applewhite's identity shifted entirely from scholar to guru. Interestingly, Applewhite and Nettles cohabitated but never engaged in a sexual relationship. In fact, they were platonic soulmates. However, Nettles, who was married at the time, was left by her husband and 2 children. This eerie parallel between Applewhite and Nettles' family life only further solidified their bond. In 1974, after reading the Bible, other religious teachings, and science fiction, the pair concluded that they were meant to lead people. In order to circulate their idea, they created a pamphlet that alluded to a reincarnation of Jesus as Applewhite. They even went so far as to claim they were the 2 witnesses referred to in the Book of Revelations. This belief was so strong that they titled themselves the Two, or the UFO 2. After a brief 6 months in jail for keeping a car past its rental period, Applewhite was released. From there, he and Nettles set out to advertise their beliefs in search of followers. In 1975, Applewhite and Nettles, or Bo and Peep as they had renamed themselves, had about 70 followers. Though their belief system seemed unclear due to fluidity of changes and contradiction, Applewhite and Nettles fell under the category of New Age. New Age is defined as religious or spiritual beliefs that developed in the West in the 1970s. Scholars tend to define this term differently, and there is little consensus, but it is agreed that much of the New Age movement focused on prior traditions from other religions as well as UFO religions of the 1950s and counterculture of the 1960s. A significant part of their belief system was the separation from the material in order to ascend to what they called the next level. Each follower was also required to rename themselves with only biblical names. Their beliefs were rooted in the fact that Earth was going to be recycled, and the only way in which their consciousness could survive was by boarding a spacecraft that would pick them up from Earth and take them to heaven, or as they called it, the next level. However, As time went on, the story changed and the followers needed to abandon their human bodies in order to survive. They saw human bodies as vessels and referred to them as vehicles that could be abandoned in order to save their consciousness. Additionally, they were supposedly against suicide, though they created their own definition for what truly constituted suicide. For them, suicide would be to decline going on the next level. Therefore, if they refused to kill themselves when the time came, that would be what they deemed as suicide. In 1976, Applewhite and Nettles' prior names, Bo and Peep, were retired and replaced with Doe and T. These names, according to Applewhite, had no specific meaning. Applewhite and Nettles had a meeting with their followers in Oregon. The followers were told to sell all of their possessions, and just like that, the group then vanished from the public eye. CBS Evening News even reported on the fact that the group, of now around 100 people, suddenly went missing. This was the beginning of the 16 years of seclusion. Applewhite and Nettles had decided that the group would live nomadically, moving across the country and sleeping in tents or begging in the street. The two leaders convinced their followers that staying out of the public eye was a way to achieve a higher evolutionary level, which they eventually claimed to have achieved. The evolutionary level above human, or Tela, was a place where none of the members would have corporeal needs and would all get nutrition via the sun. To achieve Tela, death had to occur unless a Tela spacecraft picked a member up. Otherwise, natural death, death by choice, or death by violence were all acceptable methods according to Applewhite. While these details stayed fairly close to identical, much of the underlying doctrines changed. The group changed names multiple times before Heaven's Gate was chosen as well. Another turning point occurred in 1985 when Nettles died. At this point in time, the group gained a reputation as a cyber-cultural religion. They used the internet in order to gain followers and had a website named Higher Source, which provided income. At this point, all of the members had disconnected from their families, friends, sexuality, employment, and money. In fact, 8 of the group members, including Applewhite, decided to get a castration in order to solidify their commitment to their beliefs.
Okay, we have Thirsody with us, and I believe that you chose the name Thirsody because you want to be reminded of your thirst for next level knowledge. Is that correct?
That's right. I know my vehicle's, or this vehicle that I'm wearing, is, pretty nervous, pretty scared. Not really sure what I'm going to say. I guess, what I wanted to maybe address more was how I feel about this step that I'm taking. And some may say, well, boy, it's quite a irreversible step. And I just wanted to say that I'm familiar with irreversible steps. And tell you what, I don't know if you remember Doe talking about that some students had proven to him that they desired to have their vehicles neutered. And I'm one of those students that did that. And I can't tell you how free that has made me feel. I've been here long enough from the time I had that operation to know the freedom that it offers me.
An additional facet of this group's beliefs connected to the Hale-Bopp comet. The comet became visible to the naked eye in May of 1996, and the group believed that the comet contained their salvation and ascension to heaven. All of this came to a tragic end in 1997. Applewhite often filled himself describing their future and their doctrines, which produces a strange feeling, as usually cults are secret, but here we have footage. In March of 1997, Applewhite filmed himself discussing mass suicide and the need to evacuate Earth.
Disciples, those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. We're going to talk to you about the most urgent thing that is on our mind, and what we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us. We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us. Planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us.
He claimed the spacecraft that was to pick them up was following the Hale-Bopp comet. The group was to commit mass suicide in order for their souls to climb aboard. The members killed themselves by mixing phenobarbital in their applesauce and washed it down with vodka. Phenobarbital is used for epilepsy, trouble sleeping, anxiety, and even to help with surgery. To ensure death, plastic bags were positioned around their heads to cause asphyxiation. Each member was found lying in their bunk beds with their upper body covered by a dark cloth. Members were in uniform, wearing black shirts and sweatpants along with black and white Nike shoes. The Nike shoes are allegedly discontinued now. They also had patches that read Heaven's Gate Away Team, referring to Star Trek. 39 people died in this mass suicide. One of the theories is that the members died on different days. The idea is that one group would partake in the suicide and the next would clean up. There supposedly were 3 groups, each killing themselves one day after the other on March 24th, 25th, and 26th. Once this tragedy was made public, Alan Hale, one of the discoverers of the Hale-Bopp comet, commented that even before he knew of Heaven's Gate, he had told a colleague that he expected suicides, as people often attributed apocalyptic meanings to comets. As of now, the Heaven's Gate website is still live and 2 surviving members are taking care of responding to emails, though there have been no changes made to the website. A very disturbing part of this case is that so much was filmed and is still currently online. This is both enlightening and uncomfortable to watch, as we now know how the story ended. On the website, there are quote-unquote exit statements, which could be considered a form of suicide note.
Maybe on a more personal note, there's a number of you out there that have probably been in contact with me personally, a number of the classmates that you'll be seeing on this tape. And remember how you felt when we were there. Remember, what it was like to work with us and to be with us, and you probably do better off trusting that rather than whatever information you run across on the TV. I'm sure there's going to be some stuff come out about this that can't give the perspective that you would have. So trust your own feeling rather than what you hear from someone else. I mean, that'd be my primary advice to give.
This is my prepared statement. It's very simple. And I don't know, I think my constant asking long before I entered the class was the key, the constant begging for the real facts, the real truth as how to get out of this world and grow beyond it, rise above it, and leave it behind, both self and this world. And T and Doe are my older members, and they're from the next level, and they've shown me by their example and the next level ways, behavior and conduct for a beginner in the next level. And I must never forget that my free will and options and choices allow me to either keep looking up to the next level and my older members, or older members' chain of mind, or to look away, and which results in separation and death, similar to cutting a leaf from a tree. And as long as I look to my older members in the next level, I will have unlimited growth. And I look greatly forward to being of unlimited service in my new kingdom level.
And let you know that what we're about to do is certainly nothing to think negatively about. We're all choosing of our own free will, go to the next level with T and Doe. And they are certainly not what the media is going to paint them out to be. I never got to meet T in this incarnation in her human vehicle, but I can tell you that Doe is the most special, dignified, unhuman, objective person that you can ever meet.
These haunting last words show us how entirely dedicated Applewhite and Nettles followers were. The 2 leaders are spoken of in the same way as others might speak of their gods. Their last words serves as a reminder that cult leaders can truly convince their followers to believe anything. As for my opinion on this case, I've been reading about and researching Heaven's Gate for a while now, and it truly does stun me that we have footage of Applewhite and his messages, for the simple reason that most of the cults that I am interested in or research don't have anything of that, and on the contrary, many cults have some kind of rule about not sharing any information or not taking pictures or not taking videos. So to have videos open for us to watch is, as previously stated, uncomfortable, and it almost feels like it's not real, like I'm watching a movie about a cult rather than it actually being a cult that existed. My personal opinion is that part of this is rooted in Applewhite's frustration with the clashing of his prior religion and his sexuality, because his prior religion and his sexuality did not mesh, as we well know. I can't imagine for someone who is deeply religious, or at least mildly religious when he was older, to think that what you've been investing your life in isn't investing in you or doesn't support your lifestyle. That must be very difficult. So I definitely think his sexuality is part of it, especially since we've noted the castration and the fact that they needed to stop any kind of sexual or normal human desire. So I definitely think that's part of it. As for this cult, what makes me shiver every time I think about it is the calculation behind everything that was done, down to the outfits on the day of their death, down to all having the same type of shoes. I genuinely don't think Applewhite believed what he was saying. I think that Applewhite really loved Nettles, and once Nettles left, I believe his option was to leave in this other way that he was portraying as dignified, but I don't even believe he necessarily thought it was dignified. I don't think he believed a majority of what he was saying as much as he liked the ego boost of being a cult leader. And that's something I think about most cult leaders, that they don't believe anything that they're actually saying. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get right into the fan art.